talk about what does it mean to lean thinking, to be a lean thinker. What does that actually mean? Now, the word lean itself came from an academic study of Toyota as to why it was able to continually make money all through from 1950 onwards. And academics wanted to go and see what that is, and they realised after a period of time that there was no fat in their system, hence they said they were lean. So that's where that particular word come from, and which we kind of use that to cover quite a lot here in the West. Now, if you do go to Japan as well, and you talk to what is supposed to be a lean organisation and say, what does lean thinking mean to you? They'll look at you with a bit of a quizzical look as if to say, what does that question mean? So then you expand on it and say, oh, well, how do you, eliminating waste, you find waste, eliminate it, how and what does that mean to you? Then they'll say, I understand. What that means to them, and they'll probably explain to you, is lean thinking is the thoughts and the actions that they take to make their businesses better. And that's what lean thinking is to a Japanese business owner. So more, again, in Japan, what they look at lean, there are 2 causes of waste, and then there are 8 wastes. The 2 causes of waste is, the first one is the waste of overburden, and that's literally having too much work that you can't do it, or it's so much work that it becomes demoralizing because there's no end to it for the people doing that work. It could, for the business as well, if they've got an overburden, they may need to get lots of extra people to do that work, or there's lots of overtime required to get it done, which tires people out, which can lead to quality problems, it could lead to sickness, which means there'll be even more overburden to do later on because there's not enough people to do the work, etc., etc. So you can quite easily see how overburden can lead to a wasteful situation. The next one is the waste due to unevenness. Now, unevenness could be maybe the orders are subject to variation, so you may have seasonal orders for stuff. So you have peaks and troughs. When you have peaks, how do we deal with that? Do we have to get temporary people in who don't know anything about how we make the stuff that we're doing? They need to be trained. It takes them a while for the skills to ramp up. There's a cost associated to that for us. And that's not obviously ideal. Maybe our own production systems themselves lead to uneven work. Perhaps we produce stuff in batches. So you get waves of work going through the organisation. Where I live, we have traffic lights. You can actually see these waves of cars because the traffic lights seem to be on red for a long time to build up a certain number of traffic. Then they go to green, and then loads of cars come through. Then there's a big gap of nothing, and then you get another big wave of cars come through, which is okay. It's good for safety, stops people getting run over at intersections and junctions and things like that. But if you're trying to get out of a side street, it's sometimes if you get that at the wrong time, it's, oh my goodness, it's really frustrating. So that's 2 types of things that cause waste. One, like I said, is overburden. The second one is unevenness. And then we talk about the 8 wastes. But first we say, okay, waste. What is waste? It's stuff I throw in a bin. What does that mean? So yes, waste is stuff we throw in the rubbish and the garbage. But when you do talk about waste from a lean perspective, you define waste as anything that consumes resources whilst adding no value from the customer's point of view. So basically, it's anything that any actions that you do that the customer doesn't want to pay for is a waste. It wastes time, and as we know, time is money, so therefore we're literally wasting money. So if we can eliminate waste from our system, we can be more competitive because we can remain competitive with our pricing and pitch it at a point that the customer is willing to pay for. And if we can make our stuff less than if it costs us less than what the customer is willing to pay for that product, then we make money. That's the lean thinking side of it, way of stuff, as opposed to figuring out how much it costs to make it and then adding a percentage on top. All you've done there is the price constantly goes up, and then your customer's going to go, oh, I'm going to look somewhere cheaper. I'm going to look where I can find that stuff for cheaper. Now, I mentioned 8 wastes. There are as a few acronyms that people use to remember or identify what the wastes are. One is worm pits, another one is downtime, but my favourite to use is Tim Woods. And the reason I like that one is because I've given waste a character. So if I go into an organisation or in my own organisation, I'm looking for Tim Woods. It's someone I'm looking for. And it gives me, because it's a character, I've anthropomorphised it, it's a definite thing I can find and then do something about it. That's what I'm in it for. So, the 8 wastes, Tim Woods. T, transportation, the moving of stuff, products, materials through the organisation. How does it move? If we have to move stuff, products, material, etc., we either have to do it with equipment, so it's going to cost us to get that equipment. It may be because we're going to move it, there may be a manual handling component to that, which then increase the risks of injury. And if people get injured, whether it's arms, limbs, backs, dropping things on the feet, bad back, then they can go sick. So as people can go sick, we've then got to replace them with somebody else to get the work done, or we run it light and then people have to do overtime. So you can see there's additional knock-on costs to that. So therefore, transporting is, if something's being moved, it's not being worked on. So there's time there when work could be done, and it isn't being done. So again, the customer doesn't want to pay for you to move it from A to B, or from A to B to C to D to E. So it can lead us to say, how can we do that? By minimising transportation, literally. Right, next one, I, inventory. The amount of stuff that we use to make our product. Or it could be the amount of information that we use to provide a service, whatever it may be. If we don't have enough inventory, then we reach stock outs and we hit work stop. That means that we might not make an order on time. It might mean that we've got to try to get some emergency stock in to cover the shortfall, which would probably cost us more. And then when we get the stuff in, we expedite our orders within our organisation, which through expediting and trying to hurry it through, does that increase the risk of problems, quality problems? So you can see there, additional cost for that. The next one, M, material, T-I-M, M, material, motion. It's the motion of people as they're doing the work. So if we got someone meant to be in a workstation and they're moving away from that workstation, we need to know why. Are they trying to find stuff? If so, is there another way we can do that smarter so they don't have to move away? Also, M for how do they physically do their work? Is it done in a nice, safe way? Are they going to go home at the end of the day totally uninjured? Could it lead to RSI type injuries, backs, that sort of thing? How they physically move. So motion, we want to make sure that people are able to work safely and they actually stand where they're working. Because, again, if people are walking to find stuff, they're literally being paid to walk. Think about that. Right, the next waste, W, and that is waiting. If you see people waiting, what are they waiting for? Because if they're waiting, they're being paid to do nothing. So what are they waiting for? Are they waiting for material? Are they waiting for information? Waiting to do work? Are they waiting because something's broken down? Are they waiting? They don't know why. No particular reason. They don't know why. I come from a military background, as I mentioned before, and often I would wait for no discernible reason, which is very frustrating. And then also, whilst you've been waiting, when you get the chance to do the work, it's difficult to actually ramp back up and get the motivation to do that work. It's an odd situation. So waiting, we see that, more opportunities. The next O. So the next waste is an O for Tim Wood. O, overproduction. Making something before it's needed. Now, there may be reasons for doing that, and that may be to get a particular order out on time. There may be many things that go into that order, and that's fine to do it before it's needed, as long as it's done in accordance with getting that order out. If we make stuff before it's needed, we're going to have to stock it. We've got to look after it. If we have to look after it, we need some space to do that, and we need people to do that. We probably need equipment to do that as well. So there's additional costs just to look after something. Also, if we're making something that's got a certain life and expiry to it, then if we hold it for a certain amount of time, by the time we get that out to a customer, they're not going to have as much time left themselves to do something with it. Potentially, if we don't sell it, then it expires and we'd have to throw it away because it's no good. So that means we put all that time, effort, resource into making the thing, only to throw it in the bin after a certain time has passed. Still not good. Also, we think, oh, we'll make that and we'll stick it on the shelf because someone will buy it. What we find is in the real world, customers, they might all of a sudden change the specification, which then we've got a thing on the shelf that is of no use now because the customer doesn't want that because it's not the right spec. So again, we've got to chuck that in the bin too. That's not good. So you can see there's obvious waste associated with overproduction. The next O, Tim Wood, is overprocessing, doing more than is necessary to get the work done. There could be multiple handoffs. There could be multiple handling, double, triple handling of going forward and backwards, multiple permissions to get something done. Yep, you may trigger something, you can see that. Quality inspections, overprocessing. The customer doesn't pay for a quality inspection. They say, why am I paying for you to check something when you should make it right in the first place? Yeah. So think about that. If you've got quality inspection in place, why have you got that? And what can you do about it? The seventh waste, Tim Wood, D, defects. So if we make something that's defective, obviously we can't ship it out because you get a bad reputation for poor quality. So again, if it does get out through the door, and customers find that, then you get a bad reputation, and who knows how much that costs. Fairly significant, I would think. So if you do find it before it gets out, then you obviously can't do anything with that. You've either got to repair it, make it better. So it's cost you once to make the thing, it's cost you twice to repair it or rebuild it or remake it. So that's cost you twice for the second time. And then the third cost that you're going to have is you should have been making the next thing along. Also, if you've got defects, you're trying to make that better or make another one, does that mean you're going to be late on your order as well? So again, reputational, defects, that's going to cost you at least 3 times for every defect that you make. So you can see the costs associated with that one. And then the final one, Tim Wood's S, is for skills. Now, skills aren't a waste, but not using the skills and ideas of your people is. People, other than the work they're doing for you, they have other skills. They do things outside of work that maybe you don't know about. As one guy I knew, his hobby was programming, and he programmed the hell out of computers. Virtually, if he wasn't at work or sleeping, he was programming. And so we're able to utilise that to help us within the business I was working in. It was really good. Other people can be creative, artistic, musical. Those people can help you when you're trying to creatively solve problems because they've got that creative mindset and they can come up with some outlandish things that you can turn into something tangible. I've used that to great effect. That's always good to do. I've known people that are able to strip and rebuild cars. So they have some hand skills, they have engineering skills, they may not be qualified. Talking of that, where I live as well, it's very multicultural. People come from other countries and they have skills outside of the work that they're doing, including like engineers. They could be doctors. They could have marvellous business brains. So we're only going to know those skills by talking to the people and see if we can capitalise on them. So, Tim Wood's 8 wastes. Now what do we do with that? So what we need to do is we look for Tim Woods, and then once we find it, that is opportunity. That is absolutely gold opportunity, and often it won't cost you anything to eliminate that waste. And you do that creatively with your people. If you can eliminate that waste, you can make yourself more efficient, you can make yourself more profitable, you can make yourself much more sustainable. So once you get used to that, you'll start seeing waste all over the place, and you will be unstoppable moving into the future. So that's my take on lean thinking. Um, Leave comments if you've got any, if you agree, disagree, or if you'd like me to expand on other stuff as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.